Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. So, I want to talk about some facts that most people are unaware of regarding the biblical signs that are occurring in 2014 and 2015, and then also go into the ancient calendar appointed times for 2014 in this video. So, in order to fully understand what we're about to talk about, if you're new to my channel, I recommend first watching the video linked in the description below called Ancient Calendar Appointments for the Future. That'll help you understand what we're about to go into. So you probably know there has been a lot of coverage about the lunar tetrad pattern that's occurring in 2014 and 2015. Most people are aware that the lunar eclipses in both 2014 and 2015 are occurring on both the first and the last biblical appointed times of those years. And a lot of people believe that the solar eclipses of 2015 are going to occur on the first day of the first month and the first day of the seventh month of that year. And this is based on Mark Bilt's research. So if you're unfamiliar with Mark Bilt, I'll leave a link in the description below this video to this video right here. But most people are unaware of what I'm about to share with you now. So in 2014, it's not only the lunar eclipses that are occurring on the standard first and last appointed times of the year, but it's also the solar eclipses in 2014 that are occurring on the first day of the first month and the first day of the seventh month on the ancient calendar. So all of the eclipses in 2014 are occurring on the biblical appointed times. And in 2015, there are only 3 out of the 4 eclipses occurring on the biblical appointed time. So let me explain what I mean here. In 2014, there are 4 eclipses, a total of 4 eclipses. 2 eclipses of the moon and 2 eclipses of the sun. And if you've watched the recommended video, then you already understand how to determine the ancient calendar appointed times. So we're just going to look at the turning of the year in 2014 to find out when the ancient appointed times will occur this year. So if we look at the rising full moon on February 14th, 2014, we see that the moon is rising to the left of due east, and the sun will be setting left of due west at that time. So for the ancient people, this would mean for them that it's still winter. But when spring starts, the sun will be setting to the right of due west, and the moon will rise to the right of due east. So as you can see, the turn of the sun and the moon does not occur in February. So if we were living in ancient times, we would wait to look at the full moon in March. And in March, the full moon will rise to the right of due east, making its spring turn, but the sun will not make its turn at the full moon in March. It'll still be setting to the left of due west. So because we have to take it into consideration both the turning of the sun and the moon per Genesis 1, we can see that at the full moon in March, the sun hasn't made its turn yet. So if we were living in ancient times, we would wait for the next full moon in April to look for the turn. So the turning of the sun and the moon in 2014 will be observed at the full moon of April. And the next new moon on April 29th will be the first day of the first month using the ancient calendar method. And on April 29th, there is a solar eclipse, an annular solar eclipse. The standard Jewish calendar, which uses a set method for determining the appointed times, is usually 1 month ahead of the ancient calendar. And the standard calendar is observing Passover from sunset of April 14th until sunset of April 15th. And April 15th is the first lunar eclipse of 2014. So the first lunar eclipse of the year in 2014 is occurring on the standard Jewish observance of Passover, which is the first appointed time of the biblical year. And the first solar eclipse in 2014 is occurring on the ancient calendar observance of the first day of the first month. So the ancient calendar method will then observe the appointed time of Passover from sunset of May 12th until sunset of May 13th if you count from the new moon, or from sunset of May 13th until sunset of May 14th if you count from the first crescent of the new moon. So there's actually a 3-day window when you take into consideration both the new moon and the first crescent. So that would mean that the appointed time of unleavened bread would be either from sunset of May 12th until sunset of May 19th, again counting from the new moon, or sunset of May 13th until sunset of May 20th if you count from the first crescent. Then Omer Day 1, the 3-day window for Omer Day 1 would be the 13th through the 15th, and then Omer Day 7 would be the window from the 19th to the 21st. Then Omer Day 14, Day 21, and Day 28 would follow. Then Day 35, Day 42, Day 49, and Day 50, which will be Shavuot from July 1st until July 3rd, using the ancient calendar method and taking into consideration both the new moon and the first crescent counting method. So counting from both the new moon and the first crescent, you end up with that 3-day window for Shavuot. The other interesting thing about 2014 is that the appointed date of Noah's flood on the ancient calendar, right here on the 17th day of the second month, is aligning with the flood timeline given in the book of Genesis with regards to the exact number of days and years after the 777. And the 777 occurred on the Feast of Trumpets, 2008. So for more information on that, you can watch the video linked in the description below on Noah's flood timeline 2014. So this only occurs in 2014, this alignment right here. So that's kind of interesting. Then the next three appointed times of the year will occur 7 new moons after the first new moon of the biblical year. And using the ancient method, the first new moon of the biblical year in 2014 was April 29th. So using NASA's website, we count 7 new moons starting on April 29th, and we land on October 23rd as the 7th month. So October 23rd is the appointed time of trumpets in 2014 using the ancient calendar method. And October 23rd is the next solar eclipse of 2014. The standard Jewish calendar is observing the first day of Sukkot from sunset October 8th until sunset October 9th. And that is the date of the next lunar eclipse of 2014. So, as you can see, all four of the eclipses in 2014 are landing on the biblical appointed times if you take into consideration both the standard Jewish calendar and the ancient calendar method. Okay, so let's look at 2015. On the standard Jewish calendar in 2015, the first day of the first month will be observed on March 21st. So right here. And March 21st is the first crescent of the new moon. But the solar eclipse occurs at 9:46 a.m. UTC time on March 20th, which is the day before. And 9:46 a.m. UTC time right here, which is the time of the eclipse, would be at the very latest 9:46 p.m. on March 20th, at the start of the international date line right here, which is still before sunset of the 21st, which is when they start the first day of the first month on the standard calendar. So the solar eclipse on March 20th does not occur on the standard Jewish first day of the first month. But the April 4th lunar eclipse does occur on the standard Jewish observance of Passover in 2015. So, as you probably know, Passover is always on the 14th day from the first day of the first month. And the first day of the first month is always either the new moon or the first crescent of the new moon. So even if the standard calendar were to start the first day of their first month on the solar eclipse of the new moon on March 20th, the 14th day of Passover would have to be observed on sunset of April 2nd until sunset of April 3rd. And the lunar eclipse would be the day after. So the lunar eclipse on April 4th occurs at noon UTC time, which is at the very earliest midnight on April 4th at the end of the international date line. So midnight of April 4th would be after Passover ends at sunset on April 3rd. So no matter which way you look at it, in the spring of 2015, only one of the eclipses falls on a feast day. It cannot be both. The standard Jewish calendar is observing the first day of the first month from sunset March 21st until sunset March 22nd, and Passover from sunset April 3rd until sunset of April 4th. So the lunar eclipse falls on standard Passover, but the solar eclipse of 2015 does not fall on a standard feast day. Again, even if they did start the month on the solar eclipse of the new moon, then the lunar eclipse would be the day after Passover. And if they started the month on the first crescent of the moon, that is one day after the solar eclipse. So the standard calendar is starting the first day on the first crescent of the moon. So the first solar eclipse of 2015 is not falling on a biblical appointed time according to the standard Jewish calendar. But the second solar eclipse of 2015 on September 13th does land on the standard Feast of Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah. And the lunar eclipse of September 28th is occurring on the first day of the last feast of the year on the standard calendar, Sukkot, which is otherwise known as tabernacles, and starts on the 15th day after the 7th new moon of the year. And since the standard calendar is counting the new moon of September 13th as the first day of the 7th month, then the 15th day starts on sunset of the 27th until sunset of the 28th. So 3 of the 4 eclipses in 2015 occur on biblical appointed times, and 4 of the eclipses in 2014 occur on biblical appointed times. It is interesting, I just wanted to point this out, that the standard Jewish calendar is starting their the first day of their 7th month on the new moon, which is a solar eclipse. So the new moon of the first month, which is also a solar eclipse, could technically also be the first day of the first month. But again, that would mean that the lunar eclipse would not occur on Passover. But so that's something that may be interesting. But it would seem at this point that the year 2014 is more significant, at least with regards to the number of eclipses that are occurring on the appointed times. So I hope this was beneficial for you. For more information on this subject in connection with other major events that have happened in 2012 and 2013, you can check out my ebook, 2013 in the Bible and Other Ancient Texts. It's linked below along with several other videos. And thank you so much to everyone who's been supportive of this work. I hope you're doing well, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye-bye.